Right, moving on to news further afield. German prosecutors want disgraced Steinhoff CEO Markus Jooste to be arrested for failing to appear in court yesterday. He was scheduled to face his first criminal case in Germany over the accounting irregularities of various subsidiaries of the company. The prosecutors have criticized Jooste's lawyers, who say the client could not appear due to reasons related to his passport. SABC News correspondent Trent Murray is on standby. We now cross live to him in Berlin. Trent, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Perhaps you can give us an update since German authorities have applied for the arrest warrant of Markus Jooste.
Yeah, that's right. We've been trying over the past 24 hours or so just to try and gather a little bit more information about all of this, because we've got multiple jurisdictions and multiple authorities involved. But I think it's important just to start back at how all of this happened. Markus Jooste was meant to be in court yesterday here in Germany as part of that fraud trial. Worth remembering, Steinhoff is listed both in South Africa but also here in Germany, and that is why the German authorities had been looking into this matter of account regularities. But Markus Jooste did not appear in court. Of course, he was the star defendant. This was going to be a very big moment here, but he just didn't come. Now, his lawyers said that was because of an issue with his passport, that effectively he couldn't leave SA because his passport had been surrendered to the authorities. Now, what I can tell you is that SABC News today has been speaking with some of those authorities, both here and in South Africa itself. We've spoken to the South African Police Service, to Hawks, and asked them whether they have got the passport. We've been told by sources there they are not holding the passport. And it would seem the prosecutors here in Germany also agree with that assessment, because they have now issued this arrest warrant in order to try and force Markus Jooste to come to Germany. We still have to go through a few steps before that can happen, but what I can tell you is that a judge here in Germany right now is assessing that application for Markus Jooste to be arrested in South Africa and brought forcibly to Germany to face trial.
Trent, what's been the response from his legal team at this point?
Well, his legal team spent much of yesterday effectively jousting with the prosecutor over all of this. The prosecution here were really not pleased that effectively this surprise announcement was placed on the court when the trial began. They said that they should have been given notice that he wasn't coming. They also just didn't buy the argument over this passport matter, this inability to travel. They said his defense lawyers here in Germany had months in order to try and get Mr. Jooste to Germany, and they could have used that time in order to make sure he was there for the trial. But they did just continue to reiterate that argument that there was an arrangement in place with the judiciary in South Africa preventing Mr. Jooste to travel. Now, we, of course, don't know all of the details, but what we do know is that a judge here in Germany is going to be presented all of the information and evidence on this. They will then have to make the assessment on whether to green light that arrest warrant. We imagine Mr. Jooste's defence team will submit their own evidence regarding the alleged whereabouts of said passport. If that arrest warrant is granted, then we've got one more step to go, which effectively is a higher court here in Germany opening up the extradition process. In other words, the authorities here making the telephone call to Pretoria, asking them to grant the arrest warrant there in order for Mr. Jooste to be taken into custody, presumably by Hawks, and then brought to Germany to face trial here.
Trent, in terms of timelines, what are we looking at this point?
In a normal situation, from what we understand, an arrest warrant application of this type normally takes 2 to 3 weeks, possibly a month, depending on the nature of the case. If we get an answer within 2 to 3 weeks from this particular court in Oldenburg, as I said, the next step then is the extradition process. That can take a little bit longer, but the German authorities do want to move quite quickly here, given that they do have an outstanding trial that they have spent months preparing for. I mean, you should have seen the amount of paperwork which was filed into that courtroom yesterday. They needed trolleys in order to bring in the amount of paperwork and accounting documents that they had. They are clearly ready to go with all of this. They don't want to wait long. So 2 to 3 weeks, I think we'll get an answer on that arrest warrant. The next stage will then be whether Germany is willing to get that extradition process approved within South Africa, and then it may not be too long before we see Mr. Jooste board a flight and come here to face trial.